Hey guys, well here's our 86 Derby truck, the Chevy Derby truck that we built and ran at the Williams County Fair last year. And just now getting it pulled out. I know on our beginning of the season video I showed it briefly, but I've got all the stuff out of the back of it and it uncovered and just was checking things out a little bit. I don't think it's going to be too bad. The bulk of the issue is all up in the front end with the engine mount and the front fenders, just trimming those. And then back here, we got to do some body work. Now the frame is still very much straight, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to trim the bumpers. So it's going to trim the ends off so that way I don't get caught on anything. Try to bend that up. I'm also going to pull this bed back down so that way it's, you know, pretty close to where it would need to be in the stock location. And then I think for the tailgate, I'm still not really sure exactly what I'm going to do. I'm only allowed to wire it, and that's in 4 locations. That's just what the rules say. And so what I'm thinking I might do is just drop it down and then maybe put a V in the middle or something to it, just to try to start sucking these sides in together in the back corners, versus what happened here, which is the tailgate was stronger than the sidewall and it totally just bent up. So the end goal would be that we can make an improvement there, obviously learn from the way this thing bent. And partially that was because of the inside of the bed. Now here it is. It's definitely dirty and full of mud, and you can see where it crumpled up in that corner, basically folded and lifted right up. And if you guys remember from last season, this thing already had a bunch of bowing in the middle of it. And where that helped me maybe front and back, it did not help me at all side to side. And so that's exactly what happened, is it just kind of bowed. You can see right there in the low spot, maybe I'll get a better angle, you can see that, where it kinked, bowed right there and lifted this back corner right up and folded it in the middle. So we're going to try to pull that back down, maybe hit these fenders in a little bit. We're again, place that this is going to be running, we're not allowed to do a whole lot in the way of modification, but because it is a pre-ran, hopefully I'll be able to beat it in a little bit more than maybe I could have when it was stock. So that's the back end, and that's pretty much my plan. Other than that, the rear end is still looking good. All the mounts are still good, and the frame is, as I said, still very solid. So just trimming the bumper and going to pull these back fenders back down and maybe get a little more creative with the tailgate. Now it's a pre-ran, I might be able to do a little bit more, and we'll just see how things go there. At the cab here, it was already bent in pretty good. Just as far as pushing the bed against the back of the cab, I already had it bolted together and welded on the side fenders, so that's still all looking good. It obviously pushed in right here, as you guys could see there, just from the bed moving forward and that part of the body coming in, that rear fender and that rear quarter. And you know, oh well, it is what it is. Probably just hammer that back into place and go from there. And just because it just popped into my mind, so obviously we spent a fair bit of time doing the paint job. When you see the front end, if you guys remember, this thing won the best paint and it looked pretty sharp. So being that a lot of this didn't take a huge amount of damage other than just obvious cosmetic stuff, I'm going to try to save this paint job as best I can. Just touch it up where I can and just go from there, and hopefully that'll save me a lot of time in the back run. So, you know, just in this area, it's just touch up the white and maybe spray the red again and call it good. So now up here, got a few different issues. One, we got steel coming in and basically rubbing the tire. When I turn the wheel, it rubs. Right now we've got it pried back enough that it could roll, and that was the main goal. And so we're probably going to have to just cut all that out. It's also pushed in pretty decent right here in the corner, so we just trim all the excess metal we don't need away. From a hood standpoint, it's still pretty straight. Not much has happened other than just damage to the front end and where the core support is. It's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but the core support did move back right here. The bolt actually sheared right off, and it pushed back, so we're going to obviously pull that out, put in a new bolt through it. The rules do not allow us to put all thread all the way through the hood, So unfortunately that just left us with having just the bolt at the bottom and then wire at the top. And I misread the rules and actually welded a washer there, and was originally planning on putting the wire through the core support, but it said no wire to the core support, only to fenders or adjacent metal, which apparently does not count. The core support doesn't count. So we had to improvise, put in a couple holes there, so we're going to grind off right there and put in some new washers. And the bumper is actually still fairly straight. It just curved up and bent. The rules again allowed that we could have any bumper we wanted, but it had to be bolted on. And just using what I had without it being able to add any metal, it was a little difficult to bolt it on, but it's there. We're going to pull it back down and realign it, re-bolt it back together, maybe try to get a little more creative with it. I won't really know till I start yanking it apart. But mostly just bent up. And so we'll just redo it, and the reason it bent up was because the bottom bolts didn't really hold. I tried this hook concept. We were only allowed so much, and it actually worked okay, but once the bumper hooked up, those hooks disconnected, and so I'm just going to have to go with the chunk of all thread, bend it into my own hook, and then make that work. So again, all this stuff can be avoided. I personally did not build a truck like this before. I know we had our Suburban, but that was mostly my dad's building, and so this is a little different. Same problem on this front end. Obviously the corner got pushed in, causing this metal to come in and come very close to that tire. So we're gonna have to cut that away, trim it, do whatever we gotta do, hit this with a hammer, get it bent back in. That's gonna be the main goal, is just tucking all this metal back in. This side, not too bad, not a whole lot of damage. A few little hits here and there, and some scratches of the paint to touch up, but other than that, honestly, not bad, guys. But our big action is going to be right here, the motor and transmission. So, end of season, I took a quick gander at this thing, and actually we have broken an engine mount. I'll have to get more video of that, because unfortunately, just with the way I've got the camera mounted right now, it's going to be too difficult to get in there to actually tape the thing. But end of day, the last time I used this motor transmission, the engine mount broke on the passenger side. Took that all apart, fixed it, and well, this past year I had the driver's side engine mount break on me. So just another string of bad luck. So we're gonna jack that up here in a moment, put in a spacer block, and just try firing this thing up, make sure it still runs and all that's good before I waste any time going and pulling this thing out. I hope it's all still good. I have no reason to think it's not. But one other problem that happened was I had my oil pressure gauge. I had a line running to a gauge inside the truck, and the unfortunate thing was that line got pinched in the firewall, causing me to be spraying transmission fluid all over the inside of my truck. And honestly, I didn't even know it until the derby was done, where I got knocked out. So it was a good thing I got knocked out when I did. But it just created another mess and another thing I got to fix. And maybe I misspoke there, but it was the oil pressure gauge for the engine. That's what it was. It was spraying oil all over the place, not transmission fluid, sorry. There's a separate issue, as you guys can see on the floor. The transmission did lose some fluid over the winter. My rear tires went flat, causing excess fluid to drain out of the back of the transmission because the seal isn't all that great, and created a little bit of mess for me. So that's exciting stuff, but I'm getting that cleaned up. Inside, really no damage, nothing to speak of other than just that door on the passenger side's pushed in a little bit, and mud, and more mud. And then, as I said, we had the engine oil that was just kind of pooling up in the bottom, so I had to throw some more mud in there just to soak it up at the end of the season. So hopefully when I start yanking this apart, it won't be too big a deal. Yeah, the culprit right over there is the that gauge over there with the red mount. That was the culprit. So just some minor things, really. You know, we'll pull the motor and transmission out, which isn't, you know, super awesome, but way easier than having to start this thing from scratch. So we'll pull that out, do the body work at the similar time when that's all happening, because obviously I got to take the core support out to be able to get the motor out. We'll fix the engine mount, get that all fixed up, put it back in, then just from there work on the cosmetic stuff, getting the body pushed back in, and at that point this thing will be ready to rock, guys. So ultimate plan, we're hoping to run this thing out at the Defiance County Fair. That's in Hicksville, Ohio, and I believe that's in mid-August. I'm not entirely sure on the exact date yet, but they run the same rules as what this was built for, which was at the Williams County Fair. So the plan is to run it there, and then hopefully then be able to run it again out at the Williams County Fair this year as well. So we'll see how this thing holds up. We've had pretty good luck with the trucks holding up, and as I said, you know, pretty minor fixes. Hopefully we can get this knocked out fairly quickly here, and just have the thing sitting in the garage ready to go. So there you go, guys. There is an update on our 86 Chevy Derby truck, ready to see the track again in 2016. So till the next video, we'll talk to you later, guys.